All right, I think we are live over here. So I'll give it a couple minutes and then we will get kickstarted here. So just be a couple more minutes and then we will get started. Let me just do a quick test, just make sure I can share my screen effectively, and we will be great. So this is what we will be going over today. My favorite topic of Dispo. Let me just do a quick test, just make sure I can share my screen effectively. Okay, so you can't see my screen. So this is why we test stuff. Let's see if this is better. There we go. There we go. Okay. So awesome. I'm going to wait 2 minutes or so, and then we will get started with how to dominate Dispo. So love this topic. So excited for this one. For anybody who's watching, are you able to comment? If you can, drop a comment for me. That would be awesome. We will get started in like 1 minute. I see we got a couple viewers. If you guys can comment, drop a comment just so I can know if you guys are able to comment or interact at all. If not, it is all good. Okay, so I'm going to jump into it, and the topic of this live stream is going to be how to dominate Dispo and why most fail. And I'm serious about this. The bar cannot be lower. Oh, Roger, there we go. Okay, now I know we got comments. That's amazing. Well, perfect, Roger. Appreciate the comment there. So yeah, let's dive into this. So really quick, before I dive into the nuances of how to dominate Dispo, I'm going to give a little quick overview on myself and why I believe I am somewhat qualified to speak on this topic here. So, my name is Daniel Kaplan. I've done a little over 250 wholesale deals throughout probably my wholesaling career. I personally own about 103 units, and that is scattered across Wisconsin, Alabama, and Texas. I am mainly specialized within the affordable housing niche. So, I do a lot with Section 8s. I also do a bunch of fix and flips here and there. We also do a lot of wholesaling in the CRE world as well. So with like multifamily buildings, industrial sites, mobile home parks, pretty much every single asset class I likely have transacted with. I work with private equity shops to family offices. Yeah, that's a quick little high level overview on me. And as you know, a lot of people lie about their numbers. So just wanted to quickly show you this settlement statement that I have. Closing date was supposed to be October 29th. It's actually I got to check actually. I don't. It was supposed to have closed today, but as you saw here, our assignment fee for this deal was $57,000. So not too shabby of an assignment fee. This was actually a novation in California. I just block if you want to see the address actually. I don't really care. Hopefully the deal closes by the time this video goes live. So just wanted to quickly run through that so that you can see, hey, I'm somewhat qualified. We have done a little over 100 million in transaction volume. So this is our bread and butter. So now time to dive into it. So at the end of the day, every single business falls into two categories. You've got your math, aka the numbers, and then you have inputs and outputs. So, in order to succeed in this business or virtually any endeavors that you are diving into, you need to understand these core principles as they translate to every aspect of business. And these principles do go hand in hand. You need to understand the numbers of your business and then identify which inputs are more likely to get my desired outputs. Everything in this business is just math and inputs and outputs. If you take it down to first principles, that is as simple as it gets. Know your numbers and then know what is the highest leverage input that I can do to get my desired output. So for us, whether it's wholesaling or any other business, these principles all hold true across them. So, in everything you're doing, you must obsess over your numbers because at the end of the day, business is just math. If you do not know your numbers, you do not know what is working and what is not working. So, what I mean by this is you should know every single nuance of your business and try to equate some form of data to it across the acquisition side, the disposition side, your underwriting side. Hyper obsess over your numbers, and that is what will take you from a beginner in this space to a full blown killer. That is what will allow you to crush it. So, just to preface, regarding Dispo, every human and every market operates differently. What I'll be running through in this video is what has worked for me and the markets that I am in. I mainly wholesale nationwide. My average home price that I target usually is in the range of, I would say, 120 grand to 400K. So I'm on the middle towards the lower end of the kind of median home price. And this has what has worked for me, but it might not work for you. There are certain strategies that work better for other people based on your skill sets, the markets you're in, and just overall how you are as a business owner. So, in order to identify, though, which strategy is going to get you your desired output in the most efficient manner, you must start by tracking everything. So, as we dive into the dispo processes and dive into the different kinds of strategies you can leverage, it's important that you are tracking your numbers because, again, what works for me might not work for you. And you will not know what is the best strategy unless you are tracking your numbers. This is what you need to hyper obsess over. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I will continue to reiterate that till the day I die. Everything in business is just math. If you do not know the numbers behind your business, you are going to make emotion based decisions instead of data driven decisions. So some of the questions as you are diving into this dispo process and diving into your KPIs, here are kind of like 5 questions that I think that you should be asking yourself. One, which channels are getting the most eyeballs on my deals? Whether you're using Investor Lift or doing novations or doing SMS blasting, you want to be able to compute how many eyeballs am I getting on this deal? How many people are reviewing it or underwriting my deal? Additionally, which channels are more receptive to seeing deals on? So what I mean by that is there are certain channels that buyers are more receptive to. For example, a lot of buyers do not like getting cold called out of the blue. Maybe it makes more sense for them to go and receive a text message. In, for example, tertiary markets, there are certain strategies that work better compared to being in a larger MSA. So you need to know within your market, take on the lens of your buyer. You want to understand where are they the most receptive to receiving a deal. Another very, very important thing that people don't consider is what is my average sales cycle per channel? What I mean by this is if I am listing a novation deal, this will take me about 90 days to sell this property. Let's say I get under contract. By the time I maybe put in some rehab, do some cleaning, get professional photos, have walkthroughs, and I list this property, this is going to take me 90 days till I get paid. Versus if I'm doing a conventional cash wholesale deal, that's going to take me more like 14 to 21 days. So you need to manage your cash flow correctly and understand which channel and what is the sales cycle of that channel. Because some people would rather do a cash deal and make 20 grand in 20 days instead of making 25 grand in 90 days. So it's important to understand that each channel operates differently and that this is a core thing that you should consider is your average sales cycle within that given channel. And then also, very underrated thing to consider is which channel has the least operational drag. For example, me pulling a list and manually dialing every single buyer on that list is very time intensive. It is very resource intensive. You need to be considering the opportunity cost. Do I want to go and start cold calling a list of buyers who I've never talked to? Or instead talk to buyers that I've already had conversations with? So that is what I mean by operational drag. How burdensome is it to leverage this channel? And again, these are just some questions that you should be asking yourself as you are building out your strategy. Within this breakdown, I'm going to be laying out, I think it's like maybe like 15 or 20 different strategies you can use. So you need to pick what makes the most sense for you, what makes the most sense for your skill set. For example, I started wholesaling when I was a full-time college student. I was in the classroom for 6 hours a day. And after the classroom, I was maybe studying or doing homework. Hopefully I was. Like I think I had a decent enough GPA. And something to consider is which channel could I leverage given my lifestyle? At that current state, I was not able to go and cold call for 8 hours a day. Or if you are working a 9 to 5 or you have other obligations, maybe you can't sit there and hit the phones all day. Maybe you might want to leverage texting or leverage other platforms where you don't have to actually get on the phone with them. So understand the operational drag within each channel. Some channels make the transaction way harder. For example, with novations, there is so much more execution risk compared to doing a typical cash deal. So when you are deciding which channel you want to leverage, understand that operational drag, which is going to be the more burdensome channel. And last but not least, arguably the most important thing here is which channel is going to make me the most money. At the end of the day, like I said, we are not doing charity work here. We are trying to maximize the amount of money that we are making. That is the reality. We are in this business to make money. That is why we started business. A lot of people want to virtue signal and say, no, I'm wholesaling because, oh, I really want to help people in their situation. At the end of the day, the core underlying reason people are in real estate and wholesaling is to make money. So you want to know which channel is going to give me the highest average fee. And for example, what we've seen is on average, our cash deals, we are averaging anywhere from a 17 to a 23 grand fee versus with novations, we're making double that. So, but the caveat is it takes more operational drag. It is a longer sales cycle. My buyers are more receptive to seeing deals on the MLS. I am getting the most eyeballs on the MLS. So you want to walk yourself through these 5 questions when you are deciding your marketing channel. For example, let's say we were doing SMS blasting at scale. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of eyeballs. I can click go and send 10,000 texts at once. My buyers are honestly usually receptive to SMS. They don't want a cold call out of the blue. Just quickly checking their phone and responding to a text is super easy. Average sales cycle is very quick, minimal operational drag, but unfortunately, I get smaller fees with SMS blasting. So these are the 5 questions that you should be running through when you're determining which channel do you want to leverage. Um, Roger, your video is a bit choppy. Not sure if your internet or mine. Hope you're recording it so I can review it later. Yes, Roger, this video is recorded. There is a good chance that it could be my Wi-Fi here. But don't worry, it will be recorded and it will be posted on YouTube after. So appreciate you bringing that up here. Um, but yeah, so that's my quick overview on just the Dispo process and just my overall philosophy on the Dispo business. So now I'll be kind of breaking down what are these channels that we are leveraging within the Dispo process. So we've got 2 overarching strategies, and under those strategies, I've got like 30 micro strategies. So we're gonna get super tactical. We're gonna dive deep, and I'm gonna see. Is it pretty choppy? So we're gonna get super tactical. Yeah, so it is a little bit choppy on my end, Roger, as well. So I think it maybe is a me thing, but hopefully the audio side is not too choppy. It seems like my camera is though. So now let's dive into the 2 dispo strategies that we are leveraging. The first one is what we call a sniper approach. The second one is a shotgun approach. And we've got 2 different goals with each strategy, and each strategy makes sense given the current state of your business. So it's important to consider both of these. So, firstly, the sniper approach. Our goal is to be extremely meticulous with who views our deals. We do not want the whole entire world to see our property. Instead, maybe we hand selected 10 buyers that we think are the perfect buyer for this deal. Versus, in my opinion, what I love doing is the shotgun approach, where I am trying to get as many eyeballs as humanly possible. These are the two main strategies that you can really leverage is a sniper approach where you're getting super meticulous with who you are talking to. Maybe you already had pre-existing relationships with those buyers. Maybe you saw that they're buying pretty heavily in that market and you think that this is the perfect person to see your deal. And then the shotgun approach, which is how can I get every single human being in this market who is a buyer? How can I have them to see my deal? I want every person there is that can see my deal, underwrite it, and give me the feedback. And my favorite is a combination of both. This is where you can differentiate yourself from everybody. You want to be able to combine these strategies. So, firstly, I'm going to run through the kind of principles of the sniper approach. So, there's five core principles that I follow with this model. The first one is quality over quantity. Like I said earlier, your goal here is not to have the whole world see your deal. What you are trying to do is make sure that only a select amount of individuals are seeing your deal. And a big part of that is trust. Usually, it is somebody that you have already talked to, that you already done business with, somebody that you already have built rapport and have a relationship with. This is always the best way to go about these deals is you want to work with people that you have built a connection with where you intimately understand what they are looking for. And that is a big piece of this business is a lot of people will blindly choose a buyer for their deal. But the challenge is if your buyer doesn't perform, you're going to lose that deal. So for example, if we go to our deal where I'm going to make a $57,000 assignment fee, if I chose the wrong buyer, so for greater context, I got this deal under contract like 3 months ago. It literally took us 3 months to sell this thing. And if I have this buyer and they need a 30-day closing window, and after that 30 days, they don't perform, I might lose this contract with the seller. And I'm going to lose a 57 grand profit transaction seller. So I need to do everything in my power to make sure that I do not lose this deal. And that comes to choosing the right buyer. And that kind of piggybacks off of the idea of the confidence in someone's ability to perform. All of these kind of go hand in hand. They're somewhat synonymous. So it's the confidence in someone's ability to perform. I know that if I choose this buyer, I have done business with them, I have worked with them in the past. I know that they are going to perform and I know that they are going to do what they say. There are a lot of buyers who are going to lock in your deal under contract with an asterisk on their ability to perform. They do not have that confidence. Really quick pause. Roger, if you're still in here, has the quality gotten any better or is it still a little bit shaky? Take your time if you're still in here. Um, but yeah, the confidence in someone's ability to perform, making sure that you are working with the right people, because this will ultimately result in a smoother transaction. You want to make sure, no, it's still a little shaky. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And appreciate the response, Roger. So yeah, the confidence in someone's ability to perform, because if they do not perform, you are going to lose that deal. You are going to burn that bridge with the seller, and also smoother transactions. There is nothing more painful than choosing a buyer just for them to have a super shaky due diligence process. And what I mean by this is I've got a core handful of buyers that I feed most of my deals to. And I know these guys' due diligence process like the back of my hand. I know that, hey, they need this piece of information and they need one walkthrough and then maybe another walkthrough before closing. I know exactly how their process works to a T because I have built that trust and I know how they perform. So consequently, I know exactly how these transactions are going to go because I've done business with them in the past and I know that they can perform. Versus a lot of people always have that horror story of working with it's constantly buffering. It's quite bad. That's it's weird on mine. It's not really buffering. Maybe try and change up the Wi-Fi, Roger. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. My apologies there if it's maybe a me thing. Um, but yeah, you want to have buyers that you trust, and it is a smooth process. That will help you out dramatically. And another big piece is reducing the risk of malicious competitor damage. This is a very underrated thing that people unfortunately do not talk about. When you go the shotgun approach, where you want the whole world to see your deal, there are malicious competitors who are going to try and hurt you. And that is the unfortunate reality of this business. Nobody really talks about it, but it is extremely, extremely cutthroat. There are a lot of bad apples in the space, and consequently, that's why we see wholesaling getting more regulated, is because there are a lot of bad people in this industry, and there's a lot of bad people in any industry. So, what individuals tend to do, unfortunately, is if they see that, hey, I posted a deal in Atlanta, Georgia on InvestorLift, they can go on InvestorLift, they can see the address, skip trace that address, and call that owner themselves. They can say, hey, Mr. Owner, I see you're under contract with Daniel. I see he's looking to sell it for 20 grand more than what he's selling, buying it from you for. So a lot of people will try and go behind your back. A lot of people will try and steal your deal or try and blow up your deal. Because if there's enough money at stake, people are going to do bad things. If you are looking at a 100 grand profit deal, somebody is going to see that and think, oh my God, I want that myself. People are greedy, people are dangerous. And that is the caveat to doing the shotgun approach, which is what we'll dive into below, is that there are competitors who are going to try and hurt you. And that is, again, I'm going to reiterate that again. That is why it's important to be careful of who you are sending your deals to and and kind of how wide you are going with pushing your deal. This is kind of similar to what people consider like reverse wholesaling, where you're going to talk to buyers before you actually have a deal. So, for any of you who are watching this and maybe you're a beginner here and you haven't done a deal or you don't have a pending contract, I would start building connections with buyers, having conversations with buyers so that when you do have a deal come in, you already know that you got these three people that you're going to push that deal to. And so with the shotgun approach, and this is unfortunately, I know there's pros and cons to every strategy, but the shotgun approach is my favorite. This is what I love. And the goal and philosophy of the shotgun approach is literally how can I get as many eyeballs as humanly possible seeing my deal? And there's an amazing quote that I love from Alex Hormozy, if any of you, he's not really a real estate guy. He's more of just like a business entrepreneurial guy. If any of you are watching this and haven't watched his content, can't recommend it enough. But he has this philosophy and this notion that really resonates with me. And it's really the kind of like the first line of this: do so much volume, it would be unreasonable for you to fail. Study each success and see what sets it apart from all the failures. Repeat the winning parts even more times. Don't change your mind before you let compounding compound. And I really want to fixate on the do as much volume. Do so much volume, it would be unreasonable for you to fail. And what I mean by this is you want to get your deal in front of as many buyers as possible where it is impossible for someone to not move forward, assuming you did your underwriting correctly. So I cannot emphasize this enough is people underestimate the amount of volume you have to do in this business. And I'm telling you, the more volume that you do, the more likely you are to get your deal closed. So always keep that in the back of your head. Just know that every conversation you have, every text you send, every Facebook message that you send, you are getting one step closer to having your deal assigned. You need to do so much volume that it would be unreasonable for you to not find a buyer. That is a philosophy that you need to be taking within this business and just within anything in life. Volume negates luck. Everything is inputs and outputs. You need to do so many fucking inputs where it is impossible for you to fail. Excuse my language. But yeah, that is the how the shotgun approach works. Is I want to get as many eyeballs as I can on this deal where it would be impossible for me to not find a buyer. So I'm gonna be breaking down every single channel that you could possibly be leveraging. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of different routes that you can go. So I'm gonna try and be somewhat quick with this. And hopefully, if anyone has any questions after, we can dive into those questions. So we'll start off with Facebook. This is the route that I recommend everybody go down. This is probably, if I had to rank these channels, it would go listing is number one, investor lift is number two, and Facebook is number three. And then the other strategies are ancillary. Like, yeah, you can maybe leverage them. So we'll start with number three, in my opinion. And there are a couple strategies that you can leverage. The first two is going to be posting. So let's say I got a deal in Atlanta, Georgia. Is that the example I used? Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia. So What you're going to do is you want to join as many Facebook groups as humanly possible. And again, you'll see a common pattern as we go through the shotgun approach. This is all about volume. So you want to join as many groups as possible. And there's two subcategories of that. You get your large real estate groups and your local real estate groups. So the large groups is literally just join any single real estate group that has over 50,000 members. So as we see distressed properties for sale, real estate investors group, real estate 101. That is what I call these broad categories where they have lots of buyers, lots of eyeballs, lots of members in the group. The next one is where you niche down a little bit. I realize I got one missing here. And that is where you're going to go in the local groups. So, like I said, if I have a deal in Atlanta, I want to join every single Atlanta Facebook group and every single Georgia Facebook group. And what you're going to do is you're going to be making marketing materials for your deal. So, a quick, like 10-liner infographic of your deal. Now, a big kicker of this, because again, something to keep in the back of your head as we dive through all of these processes, is reducing the risk of malicious competitor damage. Because if you get too many eyeballs, sometimes that will do harm to you. So let's dive back into the Facebook side. So make sure the rule of thumb with Facebook, please, if you take away anything from the Facebook strategy, never post your address. If you put the address there, someone is going to steal a deal. Like 9 times out of 10, that is what's going to happen. Just say, hey guys, I've got a deal in Atlanta, Georgia. Here's the details. Here's the purchase price. Here's the rehab estimate. Here's the ARV. Here's 3 comps to support it. That is it. Here's the city. Here's the asking price. Here's the estimated rehab. Here's the ARV. And here's 3 comps to defend that ARV. That is all your post is going to be, and maybe a couple pictures of the property. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to post these in the local groups, and then you're also going to post them in the broad groups. And then now this is where you can get a little bit more savvy, and that is where we talk about similar post interactions. So what you're going to be doing is you're essentially going to be reverse scraping these Facebook groups. So you're going to go into all these groups that you joined, and in the search bar, you're going to type in Atlanta, just the word Atlanta. And what you're going to now see is a bunch of other people who also marketed a deal in Atlanta. So I hate to say it, you're not the only person who's ever had a deal in Atlanta. So there is thousands of other posts of other people, other wholesalers who are trying to sell their deal in Atlanta. So what you're going to want to do now is you're going to go into the comments of all of those posts, and you're going to see all of these buyers who are interested, who all said, "Hey, I'm interested. Send me the details," or "Here's my email. Shoot it over to me." So what you're going to do is you're just going to message all of those people. And the reasoning behind this is because if they were interested in a similar deal, they're probably also interested in our deal. So you want to interact with everybody in those other posts. And again, also for the posts that you are making, whenever somebody comments on your post, make sure you reply back to them. The more comments, the more engagement on your post, the more likely the Facebook algorithm is going to push your post. So make sure you have interactions, you have positive replies, you have conversations. So you're going to interact with your own post, but you're also going to go to the other posts and reach out to those buyers as well. So those are the 3 main ways that I'm leveraging these Facebook groups. If you're even savvier, and this is something that I built as well, is an email scraper. So in these Facebook groups, a lot of people, when they see a deal they're interested in, they will just put their email in the comment section. So what I recommend that people do is, if you have the skills to build something like this, is to start scraping for every single email. So when you go in these Facebook groups, you'll find thousands of emails of people who are buyers who put their email for a reason. They put their email in the comments because they wanted insight on that deal. So take all those emails, send over an email blast, and boom, easy way to get more buyers. Also, cold DMing, you can go and all look at the members of the group and just send a bunch of messages to people. Also, last but not least, again, this is something where this is like the strategy here, the unfortunate reality is a lot of the times this one blows up in your face. And this is in regards to the Facebook marketplace. For some reason, the only time I've ever had like a seller see me marketing their deal was if I posted on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of people leverage it. A lot of people have success with it. You can try it out. But yeah, Facebook Marketplace is a good option. Another thing that I did not mention is also running ads. That you can run ads to your deal and get even more eyeballs on it. So that is the high level overview of how these Facebook groups work. And it is one of the probably best channels that I've leveraged especially if you have creative finance deals like subject twos, hybrids, seller finances, second position seller carryback deals. Facebook has always been the best way for me to find buyers when it's like a creative deal. Like 9 times out of 10, it is the best strategy to leverage. Now, the next one, which used to be my number one favorite strategy, but now it's number two. But we're going to be talking about Investor Lift, and Investor Lift has 6 facets to it that we are going to dive into. We've got Artemis mode, God mode, marketplace, email blasting, AI/SMS blasting, and inquiries. So the marketplace side, how Investor Lift works is you are essentially posting the kind of like an infographic of your deal. So as we see, this was a seller finance deal that I had in Tucson, Arizona. And as you see, it's a marketplace. So somebody can go on the Investor Lift platform and they can see all these deals all across the US. And they can go on, they can see our notes in the deal, they can see the information, they can see the city of the deal. So they have this marketplace where your marketing materials will be posted. So now that your deal is posted, and again, also if you are a client of No Accent Callers, you're lucky. We pay like way too much money for this software, but luckily you get it for free. So text your CSM if you have a deal or you want a buyer's list. Text your CSM. They can go and pull you a list or post your deals for you. Even if you have a deal that you didn't get from us, you can still post it on InvestorLift. And the next piece is the email blasting and AI blasting. So how InvestorLift works is when I have a deal, let's say in Atlanta, Georgia, what InvestorLift will do is it'll go and draw a 5 mile circle around my property. And it'll go and pull every single buyer that has ever transacted within a 5 mile radius of my property. And what you can do is literally just start, you can click new deal, click text, email, or AI blast. And what it will do is I chose, let's say, 7,000 buyers within a 5 mile radius of my property, and I can run 3 different campaigns to them. One of them is free, 2 of them are paid. The free one is email, which is literally just sending an email blast to 10, 20,000 buyers within a radius of our property. Again, just shooting over the details of the deal. The 2 best options, which I cannot recommend enough. This is a little bit old when I built this, so SMS blast is not as good. The number one thing is this AI blasting. Like this crushes it for us. So it's like maybe $20 to $50 per AI blast. I think it's more like 50. But if you have a deal and the numbers are actually good, this is the number one way that I get my deals moved. If you go on Investor Lift and you search up their ads, I'm actually one of their advertisements now because I made a post about how I had a deal. I posted on Investor Lift. I clicked the AI blaster, and 47 minutes later, I had that deal assigned because of the AI blaster. I don't know, Rob, whatever you're doing with this AI blaster, it's crazy. Cannot recommend it enough. This has absolutely crushed it for us. The next thing, and this is my other favorite thing, is Artemis mode. So what I can do is, again, I'm running all of these campaigns. We're emailing them, we're texting them, we're doing the AI blasting, we're having our marketing materials posted on the marketplace. Now, on Artemis mode, I can actually see every single person who has ever viewed my post. So if we zoom in here, this is not the best example, but I can see, hey, this person, Keith Jackson, here's their email, here's their phone number. They looked at our deal for a total of 1.5 minutes and viewed 8 images. So, for example, I have people who have viewed my deal for 30 minutes straight. So I can literally see every single person who has looked at my deal. And then now what you do after that is you then go and call them. Say, hey, Keith, I saw you checked out our deal on Investor Lift. It was the one in Tucson. Just wanted to give you a quick ring and see if you had any questions or anything I can maybe answer for you as you're doing your due diligence here. So I can see literally every person who's ever viewed my deal, but also what I can do is, as we see, my property is here in the red. I can see every other person's posting and see everyone who viewed the deals next to me. So similar to my philosophy with Facebook, if they're interested in my deal right here, if they're sorry, if someone was interested in this deal here or this deal here, aka on the same street as my property, they're probably interested in mine. And so I can see everybody who's ever viewed that property. The next thing is God mode. This is if you want to just pull like a raw buyers list. Again, ask your CSM, they can pull this for you. Just a raw list of every single buyer in that market. And also on Investor Lift, when some people will ask questions and like if they get a text or an email, they might respond back with a follow-up question, or people can actually submit offers on Investor Lift. So another way where you can see all of the buyer activity there. And again, Investor Lift is unbelievable platform. I cannot give enough shout outs to this platform. Like it's phenomenal. And now my number one favorite thing, this is how I've changed my whole entire strategy, is I solely go with listings. And what I mean by listings is novations and flat fee listings. So how this process works. So for example, here, if we go up to the deal that I was showing, let me see if we're able to, oh yeah, perfect. So as we see here, I had the property, and this is so this bar right here, this is the price we had with the seller versus this is our LLC. So what we did is we were under contract for 345 grand. We put in some work. We did a lot here. We probably tied in like 10 grand of capital, or more like 5 to 10 grand of capital. And then we actually listed it for 460. So we went under contract for 345 and listed it for 460K. Unbelievable. That is what the power of novations is I get the property under contract for 100K and I go and list it for 200K. And this is extremely helpful because going back to the notion of eyeballs, I believe, and again, don't hold me to the stat. I think only 5 to 10% of all deals transact off market in the resi space. Meaning, if there is a million properties that trade a year, 100,000 of them are off market versus 900,000 of it are on the market. So there are 10 times as 9 times as much transaction volume on the market versus off market. So, how can I find that mix of two? And that is with listings. So on that deal that I showed you, where I was under contract for 345 and listed it for 460, we got like 3,000 views of that deal and had like four different offers. Novations and flat fees are so massively powerful. I cannot emphasize it enough. It is especially huge when you are in what we call tertiary markets. So you got your large MSAs, which are like your Atlantas, your Chicagos, all of the main cities. Tertiary markets are a little bit more rural. Maybe it's a sub 50,000 or a sub 100,000 population. Smaller towns, less buyer activity, where maybe that deal makes more sense for a retail buyer, someone who wants to live in it. When we do off market deals, we're solely working with investors. When we do novations and flat fees, we're now able to work with people who want to buy this property as a homestead. And what that means is investors, they need to buy these properties for 70 cents in the dollar versus someone who wants to live in this thing. They don't care about the discounts. So when we actually list the properties, we make so much more money and have so many more eyeballs, but there are some caveats to it. So a longer sales cycle, a cash deal might take us 14 to 21 days to close. This takes us like 60 to 90 days to close. Also, a big thing is execution risk. And this is something I mentioned a little bit earlier. You need to schedule a lot of showings. You have to really be transparent with the homeowner too and let them know what this process is. Ask your CSM. I've made some other videos on novations and flat fees if you want that breakdown on how we pitch it on the sales side of things. So there are pros and cons to it, unfortunately. So, however, with these, we make way more money. We have a way better success rate of selling these deals and we get more eyeballs. I cannot emphasize it enough. Like if you do not do novations, you need to learn them right away. You need to drop everything and figure out how you can do novations. It is such a no-brainer. Now, other strategies that you can leverage. Again, number one, in my opinion, is listings. Number two is investor lift. Number three is Facebook. Now, here are some other ancillary strategies that you can leverage. And I just realized I missed one. And this is what I like to call referral listings. So let's quickly run through what these look like. First one is SMSing realtors. So let's say we get a deal under contract. You can go and pull a list of all realtors, send them an SMS blast saying, hey, I saw you're pretty active in Atlanta. I've got this deal. Do you have any buyers? Happy to pay you a commission. Easy way, large volume. The next one is for rent prospecting. If you go and look at people who have for rent listings on Zillow or on some rental marketplace, these are investors. These are people who are in the business. Send them a message saying, "Hey, I saw you got this property on Main Street. We actually got a property under contract a couple doors down. Wanted to see if you were maybe still looking to buy." Another option is Discord. Join real estate Discord communities and post your deals. Craigslist, again, another good way to post deals. Also, Reddit, somehow surprisingly, there's a lot of wholesalers on Reddit. You can transact on Reddit as well. JVing, if you have a deal in a market that you've never done a deal in, partner with somebody who is familiar with that market, who is an expert in that market. Yes, you're only going to net 60%, maybe 70% of your deal, but now you have someone who has a higher likelihood of selling your deal than you. Awesome strategy. Also, Twitter. I've actually sold a deal on Twitter. It's pretty cool. You can do some LinkedIn scraping for hedge funds. I don't want to dive too much into this. This gets very technical. Other dispo softwares. There's softwares that called like Investor Base. There's a bunch of dispo softwares that are constantly coming to market. I don't keep up with them. I love Investor Lift. There's other stuff that you can use. And last but not least, referral listings. So this is not really a dispo strategy. I mean, it is. So let's say, for example, you know that your max price that you can offer a seller is 400K. And let's say the property is worth 470. Let's say the seller says, Daniel, you know what? I can't make 400 work. Like I need to be at 470 or I can't sell this property. So instead of just throwing away that lead or just killing it and saying they want too much money, reach out to an agent and say, hey, Mr. Agent, I got this person. They're looking to sell their property. They're asking 400. They said they'd be open to listing. Are you taking on any referrals by chance? And send them over this listing, get a quick referral fee. Easy way to recoup some of your marketing. Again, ask your CSM. They've got some SOPs that I built on referral listings. This is an easy way to make an extra 3 to 5 grand per month. And also, I threw in some quick scripts. I usually don't like to follow scripts, but I like to be super casual on these calls. So I'm like, hey, John, how's it going, man? So that's like our intro. I want to sound energetic, friendly, as if we're already friends with them. So I'm like, hey, John, how's it going, man? And something along the lines of like, I'm doing good. Like, who's this? Yeah, this is Daniel here. I saw you submitted an address request on Investor Lift for our deal in Tucson. Just wanted to give you a quick ring and get your thoughts. So really, we want a super friendly opener. We're not getting on there and just grilling them. So if we're doing like a cold outreach, it's sometimes we'll do a curiosity intro. I always want to pattern interrupt on that first call. So if I'm like, "Hey, is this John?" And sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, who's this? What do you want?" So get flexible with your intros. Try and be super casual, and just be friends, build rapport. And as part of this, again, a big piece is this last thing. I'm going to probably dive into this as well. So you'll want to also, at the end of the call, if they are not interested in selling the property, always, always, always say this line. This will pay dividends. If you take away anything, screenshot this line right here. I promise you, you you will not regret it. So I end every single call with a buyer that's not interested. I say this every single time. Hey, John, no worries at all. I mean, we're actually doing a lot of volume all across Arizona. I mean, what are you actively buying? We may be able to send you some other deals. So how we are ending every single conversation is saying, "Hey, John, no worries at all. Just so I could write it down in case I come across anything else. What are you typically looking for, or are you still even actively buying?" So now you can start to build your buy box here. So the TLDR of that shotgun approach is you want to get as many eyeballs as possible. And like I said, all of these strategies are great and all, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is always your underwriting. All of these efforts will have been for waste if you did not get it at the right price. Being able to underwrite and understand the numbers of these deals and understand what buyers are looking for, this will save you from burning relationship with buyers because if you send them a bad deal, they're probably going to block you. Wasting your own time. You don't want to waste time pushing a deal that is not a deal. Wasting the homeowner's time because you locked in a deal that doesn't make sense. And also saving you from losing money because you got to consider the opportunity cost of wasting this time, relationships, and resources. So Daniel, like I said, how do we combine both the sniper approach and the shotgun approach? Kind of what I mentioned earlier. And one simple step If a buyer says no or the deal does not work for them, simply just say the following line. And again, it's what I said earlier. Hey, John, no worries at all. We're actually doing a lot of volume all across Arizona. What are you actively looking for? We might be able to send you over some other deals. So, super friendly. After that call, ask them this question. And now you will slowly start to build your buyers list. After every conversation, you write down what are they looking for, and now you database this yourself for future reference. So you'll be slowly building up your buyers list. And now for future deals, you know exactly who you are going to because you've had these conversations and you built these connections. So that's it. I know I don't even remember what I wrote. I'm kidding. I got one last thing. Actually, two things here. I hope these are your takeaways. It should be a one and a two. But track your KPIs across all these channels. See what is getting you more of your desired output. Remember those five questions you are asking yourself. Track your KPIs and see if it is aligned with what you are looking for with your ultimate output, finding buyers, making money, and closing your deals. And another thing is you want to build a system that can do this in an automated fashion at a vicious scale. So what I mean by this is as you grow, for this is more for you people who are super seasoned and you're starting to do like one, two, 10 deals per month. You want to be able to build a system and a process and a workflow where you can do this at a vicious automated scale, whether it's building it within your CRM or building out your processes. How can you do this at scale and do it efficiently? That is what will help you out the most. So thank you, Roger. I see you got a question in the chat. Um, Love your presentation. You're extremely logical in your approach. It all makes sense. I love it. Are you going to share the document? Are you also offering a turnkey dispo service for investors? So regarding the turnkey dispo service for investors, are you saying more like helping you out with doing your dispo process or when you're dealing with turnkey properties? So I'll answer both of those just in case another viewer has a similar question. When you have a turnkey property, hopefully you can get it for a deep discount, but usually you can't. So you've got two options with turnkey deals. Option number one is novations, because again, you are working with retail buyers. You are working with people who want to live in the property. So that makes sense for someone like that versus an investor who wants to buy a full gut job. As far as doing dispo as a service, usually not unless it's in like one of my markets or a deal where I'm like, this is a no brainer. So if you do, I mean, I'm happy to get some eyes on them. I would say the best way to reach me is just on like Instagram or Twitter. Just search up my name, Daniel Kaplan, and you'll find one of them. I recommend Twitter. That's where I'm the most active. And on Twitter, I do a lot of deep dives like this as well. Sorry for plugging my social media here. But that's really it. That is the best way to go about those deals. And again, like the two takeaways here for you guys should always be tracking your numbers, understand your KPIs, ask yourself those five questions. What is going to allow me to ultimately make the most money in this business? And how can I do this at a vicious scale? How can you be able to leverage all of these channels that I have laid out without being burnt out and not having enough time? And again, I just want to leave everybody with this quote is you want to do so much volume that it would be unreasonable for you to fail. Study your successes and see what works and double down on that. But you will never know what worked if you did not track your numbers. So do a lot of volume, track your numbers, see what works, and just double down on that. So I hope this is helpful. I hope everybody got some value out of it. Again, people really overcomplicate this business. It's not that complicated. Choose a process, see what works for you, see what is getting you the best results, and continue to do that. So again, I hope this is helpful. I hope some of you got some value out of this. And again, really appreciate everybody who stayed on and watched this. But yeah, I'm gonna jump off. It's Friday, so hope everyone has an amazing weekend and hope you got at least some value out of this live stream.